So it's now my absolute pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to tonight's incredible keynote speaker. Spencer West is an author and motivational speaker who has tackled challenge after challenge, learning to navigate in a world set against those with disabilities. Spencer is a global speaker, a best-selling author, and star of the 2012 documentary film Redefine Possible, the story of Spencer West. Spencer redefines possible in his daily life. He's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He's trekked from Edmonton to Calgary in his wheelchair and on his hands to raise awareness for clean water projects. That's a trek of 300 kilometers, or 187 miles. And he leads youth and adult trips overseas, and he speaks to audiences all over the world. He's truly a remarkable human being, ladies and gentlemen, and we're really delighted to have him with us here this evening as our keynote speaker. So please join me in welcoming to the stage one of the more remarkable and inspirational speakers you will ever hear, our 2018 YCLA keynote speaker, Mr. Spencer West.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. While he exits, can we give Chris a big round of applause, our amazing host for this evening? Thank you, sir. And one more congratulations to all the nominees tonight. A big round of applause to all 5, please. For everybody here in the room and those watching at home, I am really honored to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me. What a beautiful place to spend this evening. I'm really excited. Just going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. Now, my name is Spencer West, and what I wanted to do with our time together is just share a little bit of my journey and the village that it took to get me to where I am today. Because no one gets anywhere on their own, as you heard from so many of the incredible folks here tonight. So what I thought I would do is start by just addressing the elephant in the room. We'll get the awkwardness out of the way, that no, your eyes aren't deceiving you. These are new glasses. And that I obviously don't have any legs. I was born with legs, but I was born with a genetic disease that caused the muscles in my legs not to work. So at the age of 2, one sec, is there an on button? There we go, thank you. So at the age of, so I was born with legs, but at the age of 2, they removed at the knee in hopes that I could use artificial legs and get around that way. But unfortunately, that didn't work out. So then at the age of 5, they removed just below my pelvis, which is basically what you see now. Now, after my surgeries, my family and I were told by the doctors that I would never sit up by myself, that I would never walk by myself, and that I probably wouldn't be a functioning member of society. At best, I would lead an inactive and uninspired life, and my family should get me involved in things like music and reading and math right away. But my family and I refused to believe that. So we set out to prove to not only ourselves, but the rest of the world, that I could be just like everybody else. Now, I currently live in Toronto, Canada, where I work for an organization called We, but I'm originally from the United States. Please don't hold that against me. And I had what I considered to be a normal childhood. I never thought I was different until I went out in public. And then every time I went out in public, everybody else around me made me feel different. The first 3 questions I used to get, not only as a kid, but even as an adult today, before anybody even asks me my name, are where are your legs, how do you go to the bathroom, and can you drive a car? I mean, imagine coming to an evening like this, meeting somebody for the first time, shaking their hand and saying, oh, nice to meet you. How do you go to the bathroom? It's a little embarrassing, right? What I began to realize is the people, they weren't seeing me as a person. They were just seeing me as this guy without legs. So in order to get them to see past that, I had to start answering some of these questions, whether I wanted to or not. So I would tell people how I lost my legs. I go to the bathroom just like everyone else. Thank you for being so concerned. And of course I can drive a car. I've got these wicked hand controls that are connected to the gas and the brake pedal, so I can push the pedals with one hand and steer with the other. But I wanted to be known for more than just that. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. When we first meet each other, we see each other in the physical form. But it's what we do after that that's important. So of course, I don't have any legs, and I'll tell you how I lost them. But I'd rather be known that my name is Spencer West. I'm an author, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a son, I'm a grandson. I became an uncle a few years ago. These are my nephews, wait for it. Aren't they so cute? And all of these things make up who I am, just like all the things that each and every one of you care about make up who you are. Now, For me, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in my life thus far is the importance of asking for help. And I learned this lesson the first time when I graduated university. Now, I was the first person out of my entire family to go to university. I studied at Westminster College in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the States. I got a degree in communication, and I got out into the real world, and I had the North American dream. I had a good paying job, I had some money, I had a car, I had some clothes, I had all the latest gadgets. That's what I was told that I needed to be happy. And once I had all those things, I wasn't any happier than I was before. And to be honest, I thought, did I fail at life? And if I failed at life, does that mean that I'm not a functioning member of society? And so I thought, well, I guess this is it. You just settle for money and stuff. So for 4 years, I just existed. Day in and day out going to work. But after 4 years, I couldn't take it anymore. And in December of 2007, a good friend of mine called and invited me to go on a volunteer trip to Kenya with this organization, to help build a school. And at first, I was like, what? I told my friend, he said, remember, standing on my hands, I'm 2'7" tall. I'm pretty sure that's a snack to half the animals in Kenya. And I don't want to be Meals on Wheels, thank you. And I hung up the phone. But I realized that if I was truly going to start a new journey, I needed to step outside of my comfort zone and take a risk. So in March of 2008, I went to Kenya. And it was a life-changing experience. In East Africa, I learned about this organization, that I now work for. I learned that it's this incredible group that inspires people to change the world on the things that they care about. Now, I saw the work that they were doing through their international development model, and the moment that changed everything for me is when we arrived at one of the new schools. And literally 200 kids came running out, and they circled around me, and they were laughing and giggling and pointing, talking a mile-a-minute language. I had no idea what they were saying. We sat on the grass, and I answered every question that they could ever think of. Where was I from? How did I get here? Where were my legs? Did I leave them in the United States? But at the end, after I'd answered all their questions, a young girl raised her hand. She looked at me, and in Swahili, the language they speak in East Africa, she said, "Sukuja hiyo kitu, ingafanyika wazungu pia." And translated into English, she said, I didn't know that this sort of thing, meaning the loss of my legs, could also happen to white people too. And for me, that one phrase changed my entire journey. It helped me recognize how I could use my story to empower other people to look at challenges differently, but more importantly, to empower people to get involved with something that they were passionate about. I thought on the flip side, maybe I could use this on behalf of this organization. Now, the piece that I don't tell very often about that story is that none of that would have happened had I not asked for help. I had reached out to my friends and family, and it was my friend that invited me to go to Kenya. And I thought I was going to go there to help build a school and help this community, which we did. But I walked away feeling like they helped me way more than I helped them. And when I came back to North America, I couldn't go back to my normal life. Those kids had quickly become my friends and family, and I owed it to them. I had to do something bigger than just tell my community about what I'd done. So I stalked their website until I saw they were hiring for a speaker. I flew out to Toronto for an interview. A few months later, packed up my entire life, which is actually still in my parents' basement in Wyoming, where I grew up. I was only going to be in Canada for 2 years. It's been 10. And I became a motivational speaker and ambassador for the organization. So during the year, I travel speaking. And then during the summer, I host our volunteer trips and take families and corporations and young people to places like Kenya and India to have a similar experience like I had when I went to East Africa. And it was a few summers ago in India with a group of about 25 students that had learned this idea of asking for help a second time in a much different way. It was towards the end of our trip in India, and we were taking the students to a place called Mount Abu, which is the tallest mountain in the state of Rajasthan in which we work. And at the top is a place called Guru Shikar, where there's a beautiful Jain temple. And we were going to take the students to have a cultural experience and just celebrate building a school in the heat of India. And when we got to the top, and I jumped out of the bus, in front of me, and I don't know why we didn't think about this, in order to get to the top were over 1,000 cement stairs. The students were getting off the bus, they're looking at me, they're looking at the stairs, we're all sort of panicking together. And as we're panicking, 2 local men come walking by with this large wooden pole that they're holding behind their heads. And hanging from this pole is a platform with some pillows. And they said, would anybody like a ride to the top? Well, it was like a movie. Everybody's head turned and looked at me. And I was like, come on, guys, people are staring at me not having any legs, and now you want me to ride on this platform like some sort of Cirque du Soleil performer? I don't think so. But I realized in that moment that if I was truly going to lead those students to the top, I was going to need to swallow my pride and accept help. So I climbed on that platform, and they carried me to the top. And we got to the top, and the view was amazing. We toured the temple, and then there was a beautiful brass bell that we were told to make a wish and then ring 3 times. Now, because I'm obviously so short, I just stood back and I watched the students ring the bell. But as I stood there, I thought, Spencer, what are you doing? You've never let anything stop you before, so what's stopping you now? Why not just ask for help? And that's when I turned to my friend and co-facilitator, Andrea, and I said, would you mind helping me ring the bell when the students are done? She just said, oh my gosh, of course not. They finished, we went over, she knelt down and put my arms around her neck. She slowly stood up, and I rang that bell 3 times. And as that sound echoed through the mountains, I realized one of the most important lessons I could have taught those students that entire journey is that a true leader knows when to ask for help. It shows your humanity, it shows courage, and it rallies people around a specific problem. Now, because I've learned this lesson over and over and over again, I thought I should probably put it into practice, at least for the big things. I still struggle a little bit with the little things. Now, halfway through my journey with We, the organization I work for, I was feeling guilty because I was traveling, speaking, telling folks, you need to get involved, take action on the things that you care about. But I was just talking about it, and I wasn't actually doing it. And so a few years ago, I came up with this wild idea to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and my goal was to raise $500,000 for clean water in East Africa, who at the time was facing one of the largest droughts they'd seen in over 60 years. Now, I knew that if I was going to climb the largest mountain in Africa, I was going to need help. So I asked my 2 best friends if they would come with me, and they said yes. And I'm really grateful that they did. We campaigned for an entire year, and in June of 2012, we set out to climb Kilimanjaro, and the hope was I was going to do half on my hands and half in my wheelchair. But I want to show you in a quick video what the first day on Kilimanjaro actually looked like. This is actually easier.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Your machine, Spence. Your machine, buddy.
30 minutes down, 300 to go.
His training was for a wheelchair. We knew there was going to be parts where you'd have to walk in your hands. But it's looking like 80-20 hands right now, which is a scary thought.
It'll be okay. Just, there's no rush.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. Tired, man.
Terrain changes really quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You think you're good for a bit, and then the next step, it's just completely steep with rocks.
And we made it before it got dark.
Yes, just barely.
Last one. So that was the first day of 8.5 days. And needless to say, my buddies and I panicked because that's not what I had trained for. And I'll never forget, we got to camp that night, and our guide said, look up over the trees, and because I'm so short, my buddy picked me up, and he was like, look off in the distance, there's Kilimanjaro. We were like, what? We thought we were on it, it's over there? Again, needless to say, my buddies and I panicked. But I was really grateful that my friends said that they would come with me when I asked for their help because I needed it. They were amazing at saying encouraging words like just a few more steps, keep going, it's really inspiring to watch you walk. When I felt like I couldn't go any further, they would literally help carry me above their head. When I felt like I couldn't go any further and needed to give my arms a bit of a break, they would help push me in my wheelchair. In fact, one of the days, one of the porters who was normally carrying our stuff had wrapped me in a blanket and tied me to his back and was carrying me that way. And while I was being carried, my buddy Dave, who's in this photo here, came up behind me and he said, listen, Spence, I'm only going to say this to you once, but you look really cute. Now, I knew that not having any legs and trying to climb the largest mountain in Africa, I was going to need help. But what I didn't anticipate is that on summit day, the day that we would get to the top, the roles would be reversed, and my buddies would need my help. Because around 18,000 feet, they got hit with massive altitude sickness, and I was in that small percentage of people where it didn't bother me at all. We joke it's because of my height, but I don't know if that's real. I watched my 2 best friends get headache, dizziness, nausea so much so they were literally throwing up on the side of the mountain. I literally watched my support system crumble to their knees before me. And in that moment, I thought a couple things. I thought, well, maybe this is it. Maybe we just give up and go back. Is it really worth this? It was also the first time in my entire life where I wished that I had legs that day. Because if I had legs now, I could be the one to carry my friends like they had carried me. But I don't have legs. So instead, I did what my parents taught me, and that was to focus on the things that I could do. My buddies kept saying, it's really inspiring to watch you walk, and I thought, if that's all that I can do, then I will do that to the best of my ability. At the time, I was still being carried by one of the porters because it was really important for me. I wanted to save my strength so I could walk the last half on my own. But when I saw my friend struggling, I said, you need to put me down. And he said, no, we'll go a little bit further. And I said, no, you need to put me down right now. And I stood in between my two best friends, and I said, this journey started with the three of us, and it's going to end with the three of us. And this is what happened next.
Through the night, so it seems I'm not breathing, and now my dream.
We started to head up the mountain to Uhuru Peak, and that was a shock. It was snow, all snow.
I think I'm breaking down.
Remember I told you guys back in Toronto, it's going to go to a point where it's physically demanding, and then it's going to go mental push. Take those steps, those final steps. And you guys are experiencing it now.
And both Alex and Dave were really struggling. Alex was like falling to his knees.
You okay?
And every step was excruciating.
Look, guys, just a little bit further, we can make it.
I was exhausted. My arms were killing me. My hands were numb from standing on them. We walked so far, and I just tried to muster up everything that I had left.
Someone come and save my life. Maybe I'll sleep when I'm there, but now it's like
This is for every kid that has been bullied. This is for every kid who's had a disability and felt like they couldn't do things or didn't belong. This is for every person who felt they couldn't change the world. This is for every person who felt like they were lost on their journey. This is for every person who has ever tried to figure out what their life is about. I was told I would never walk or be a functioning member of society. And I'm at the top of the largest freestanding mountain in Africa. This is for you.
So hand over hand and foot over foot. Thank you. We walked until we made it to the top, and we collapsed and cried, and we're a group of men that isn't afraid to cry. And we also celebrated because not only did we make it to the top, but we'd actually raised well over our goal, which provided clean water to 12,500 people for life in 2 communities in East Africa. Now, more importantly than that, though, thank you. None of that would have happened had I not asked for help and had I not offered it. I went on to do some other campaigns. As you heard, with my buddies, I did another campaign called We Walk for Water, where we walk between 2 cities across Western Canada to raise awareness about how far girls and women have to walk to collect water every single day. The following year, I jumped in a tour bus and drove coast to coast across Canada, taking the spotlight off of me and thanking local Canadians for the work that they were doing. Then the following year, I actually got to go on tour with a dear friend of mine named Demi Lovato, who invited me on her world tour, where I opened for her shows every single night to bring this message to her concerts, because she wanted to change the way people do rock concerts forever, and that it's also about a message and the things that they care about too. And then recently, I started my own YouTube channel to sort of bring this message to a wider audience, and we do daily vlogs and some videos, and I brought just a quick, short, little fun clip of some of the things that we do. here's the reason that I just told you all of those things. It's not because I want you to think I'm cool, maybe the Demi Lovato thing a little bit. I wanted to make the world a better place. And it's up to each and every one of us to exercise that ability and that responsibility to do so. And I wanted to prove and use myself as an example that based on having a physical disability, if I can still do it, everybody else here has the same ability to do so. And it's important for us to do that on a daily basis. And what I'm so honored to be here tonight is we get to hear from, thank, and then of course, congratulate one of the 5 winners who've all already won by showing that they have the same ability, showing their community right here in Cayman that they can make a difference too. And that it has to be every single day through the things that you care about. There's been a beautiful plethora of causes and things that every individual person is partaking in. And if we all do that, that's how we make the world a little bit better of a place. The world, to me, feels a little uneasy right now. And if we all start to take that and follow in these 5 incredible folks' footsteps, that's how we make a difference. That's how we make the world a better place. And that's how we redefine possible. So for myself, I feel really honored and humbled to just say thank you to all of you here tonight, but more specifically to the 5 incredible folks that are working so hard to make this community and the global community a little bit better of a place. I am so grateful, and congratulations to all 5 of you, and thank you so much for allowing me to come share a bit of my story with you today. I really, really appreciate it, and good luck. Thank you.